Die Zukunft der Arbeit startet mit dir. Ganz egal, ob du CEO, angestellt, selbstständig, auf Jobsuche oder im Studium bist. In der Arbeitswelt von heute stehen wir alle vor denselben Herausforderungen. Wir sind umgeben von Ideen und Konzepten zu Future Skills, Digitalisierung, Mentoring, verantwortungsvollem Recruiting und künstlicher Intelligenz. Also gehen wir sie gemeinsam an. Wie beeinflusst mentale Gesundheit den Job? Wie müssen sich Unternehmen verändern, um ihre Mitarbeitenden für sich zu begeistern und zu unterstützen? Und wie baue ich mir mein eigenes berufliches Netzwerk auf? Darüber wollen wir heute sprechen, um miteinander und voneinander zu lernen. Education, Transformation, Action.
I am going to try to keep it brief because I only have 14 minutes, but I also want to hear from you, and I also want to invite somebody who wants to share your story and to join me here. I can also come to you, but come to me. That's also good. So I'm not alone here. I studied a long time ago human rights, and migration was a topic that always interested me, part of the international law and everything. But I think I quite didn't understand what migration was until I became one. And that was in 2015. And since then, I have dedicated my academic side to understand what drives people not to fall in a depression and stay there and not mobilize after the things that I've seen. With my previous organization, I had the pleasure and the luck, I would say, to travel in 2 years to 27 countries, many of them in refugee camps, in areas very remote and situations with terrible conditions. And I met impressive individuals. And every time I came back from a trip, I think my perception about life and about what I do changed every time I came back. And I felt quite privileged, despite the fact that even myself, I was going through immigration, and even myself coming to Berlin went through the winter depression mode that everybody goes through, I guess. Don't leave me alone. Raise your hand if you have. Right. So then I started to study one thing personally. And it's a very cliche word, which is resilience. Interestingly, those who were already in the previous session, I want to dive into who's a migrant, right? So for those who were here, you heard me severely talk about the whole expat thing and why I don't, let's say, relate with that word. Mostly because I'm just going to give you a homework. Go to Google Images. And if you go to Google Images, type expat, and you will see everything related to economic growth, work, jobs. But if you put migrants, you're going to see people drowning in lakes and in the sea and escaping and walking. And that's not fair. Simply because for political reasons, and actually specifically during Brexit, a lot of design thinking sessions were dedicated. What is the topic that is going to divide people? And guess what? Migrants. And it's not fair to be used on and on and on to divide people. When our contribution, and I said our as an umbrella term, and please raise me the hand for everyone who identifies yourself as a migrant right now. All the contribution that you and I'm doing creates or gives back $2.5 trillion in taxes every year to the OECD member countries, which most of them are Europeans. So, resilience. How do we move forward after what we're living today? Aren't you scared? I am scared. Berlin is not the same. Germany is not the same. If I would be an Arab right now, I think I would be closing myself in a room. Let's be honest. Are we really showing compassion to people that on and on through media get attacked? And so this is a very important thing for us to understand if we want to move forward as a society. Because whatever is going to come after today, meaning anti-immigrant sentiment, AfD, right wing, and so on, whatever is going to come next is us in the middle. And what I've learned from a lot of immigrants, or those who are coming from very difficult situations, is they thrive. I want to learn that, and I want to know how they do it. So I don't say it. In fact, I found 782 academic articles that links migrants with resilience. And the impressive way, and 17 of them is related to entrepreneurship. How migrants are most likely to be successful entrepreneurs, only because one word, resilience. The motivation to keep going, despite the fact that every day, whatever we do, especially in Germany, every letter that comes tells us, stop it. You need a job. Don't do that. So a lot of these reports and a lot of things that I found, it's related to what is exactly what builds resilience. What can we learn from migrants, especially those who move to a country in a very, very dangerous and terrible conditions? Because as I said, whatever it is going to happen after this society that we're building right now, we need to learn that, to rebuild ourselves as society, if we want to live together, of course. So migration is growing. It's undeniably. It's reaching the peakest moments in the year in decades. And look, I'm from Latin America. I didn't create globalization. I'm sorry, I'm here speaking English. But migration is happening, and it's bigger than us. So we are already representing 3.9% of the global population, and it's going to continue growing. The more conflicts we have, there are 112 armed conflicts happening right now. Where are these people going to go? I didn't expect Lebanon was going to escalate that easy. Where is these people going to go? They're going to Syria. Who's going to Syria right now? When in the world Syria is a safe place? Climate change. Are we thinking about the south of India right now? About the hurricane in Florida? Didn't go that far, but could go worse. So, from the people I've learned more about resilience, it's those who really went through the worst. Did you know that, and also, are the people who give back, which is something really important. So if they want to be criticized, they give back. I have plenty of stories to share, and I'm going to link that. That's basically in Rio Bravo in Mexico, and how basically parents are crossing the Rio Bravo to go to the United States. You know who also did that road? Not through Mexico, through other one? Jeff Bezos' father, a refugee from Cuba. And then when Jeff Bezos gave him the money back that he lent to his son to build Amazon, $120,000, thanks to the father, we have Amazon today. What the father of Jeff Bezos did, he gave it back to, well, not the 100, was multiplied in I don't know how many millions, to the church that received him as an unaccompanied minor from Cuba. So I've been thinking about, and especially every time I met people like that, is what moves you in life? What's your purpose? What keeps you going? And I want to hear at the end, if we have time, I only have 6 minutes left, what keeps you moving? And that's basically the answer that I received from a lot of people. So anyways, to sum it up, why immigrants are tending to be more, let's say, in this hotspot of a very difficult development because of economic hardships, because of cultural and language barriers, especially when we come to countries like Germany, but not only Germany. I'll tell you a story about it. The legal and political obstacles, which I think all across Europe and also in the United States, it's something that is growing and growing, especially to the immigrant population. And the isolation and the need, and I will give you some tips about that, and the discrimination that many people face on a regular basis. And isolation is one of them. Because when you move alone or when you move from another country, you don't have friends, you don't know anybody. let me introduce you to a good friend of mine and a person that I consider is the personification of resilience, Edding. I met Edding at Oxford University. We both were invited as the speakers. I don't know why me, but definitely the guy deserves it. He arrived to London from Kosovo as a refugee, literally with just one little luggage and the blessing of his mother fleeing out of war with his girlfriend at the time. They arrived to London without any word of English. They didn't speak English at all. And then they found a family, or a family, let's say a dude who welcomed them into the place and said, no, you can stay with me in the meantime you find a place. Because a lot of people from the UK were really advocated to welcome people who were fleeing out from the war in Kosovo. Today Bosnia. And months later, he figured out that his girlfriend was sleeping with a dude. And he was so heartbroken and so bad that he had to leave the home, and he didn't have a place where to go. So he started to go and look for jobs. He didn't speak much English, only the thing just to go by. And he worked everywhere, in cafes, in little shops, and so on. Fast forward, whatever heartbreaking moment, not just leaving his country, trying to learn the language, he said it took him 10 years until finally he built his first little enterprise. It was a pizza place. Well, that pizza place, 20 years later, became into a chain of 120 restaurants bought by a very prestigious investment firm of food, and now he's a millionaire. And guess what he does today? He invests back into companies built by refugees in the UK. So, Germany has a lot of people who have moved to this country, and quite frankly, all of us, but let's say those who have moved to this country with very difficult situations. Not just the Syrians, the Afghans, the Yemenis, the Ukrainians. Germany has an amazing opportunity ahead, given the circumstances. The key will be is how much we're going to test these people and their resilience. Because we can move forward and we can keep moving. Because do we have a choice? No, we have to still pay taxes. We need to pay the place where we live. We need to keep moving. But as a society, we need to allow people to thrive as well. If we want stories like Edding to be as successful as that one. But then these things happened. And that becomes very demotivating. Not just for the society, but also for migrants that, quite frankly, keep working and keep paying. And I want to hear about how you're feeling right now with this situation. The interesting thing is, part of my research on resilience, when I started to travel, remember that I told you that I traveled to all these countries in all these places, I used to be a terrible atheist. I used to renegade and I used to fight with my mother since I'm 15 years old about Catholicism and how terrible was the church, and I didn't want to go to the church. I didn't believe in religion, in any faith. And what kept a lot of people alive in those camps that I visit, it was faith. And it was a shock to myself because I was thinking, what could have put me into this mode of thinking that my faith is going to keep me alive, that there's something better out there if I keep doing the right things. So I really want to invite you, every time somebody says, oh, the Muslims, oh, this, or the Jewish. No, religion, groups, communities, keep us going and keep, quite frankly, a lot of these people together. And if we start seeing religion and we start seeing all these communities as a cultural factor, I bet and I guarantee you we're all going to learn a lot without compromising our own values, of course. What also brings resilience, and that's also what I've seen a lot in groups that have thrived together, it's access to communities. One person in the last session asked, where do we find these organizations? Go to communities, go to Facebook, go to WhatsApp groups, go to meetups, get out and go and talk to people. Find your community. It's not going to be easy, but once you find it, I guarantee you, you're not going to feel alone. Either you're a migrant or you're a German. It's very important that we do this together. So I think the opportunity is quite clear for Germany, especially for Europe, and what migrants can bring and how we can learn about this muscle that we all should be building called resilience. If we want to dive in more specific details, I'm happy to share this on which areas in all these studies that I was mentioning focus on how to build and how to work on this resilience, especially in areas that are so difficult, like how can we overcome the German language, for instance. So, in any event, what I want to, oops, that was from another presentation. What I want to ask today is, what keeps you moving? What keeps you doing what you're doing? What keeps you in this country, ultimately? Because I'm sure many of us in the room have wondered and questioned ourselves. Do we stay or do we go? And the answer to that, I also want to know, because I want to keep studying about resilience, and I want to keep also studying why entrepreneurs and migrant entrepreneurs are most likely to become successful for that resilience. If somebody wants to come and join me and share your story and answer that question, what keeps you moving, please join me and raise the hand. If not, then according to my time, I'm already 1 minute surpassing the time. So thank you so much.